Welcome to Accelerate My Practice. So glad you joined me here today. Today I want to talk about drama in the team, which is kind of a carryover from last week and looking in the mirror and kind of understanding who we play. And then, of course, somebody sends me over some additional content and says, hey, you should do this. I'm like, oh, look, there's some overlap there. So really kind of interesting to see how team drama evolves and either gets better or worse. A lot of this first came out of the 60s. Dr. Stephen Karpman started talking about the drama triangle, as he called it, and then it was renamed in a different book, the dreaded drama triangle. And, in that description of this triangle, you have three people when it comes to team dynamics. You have one that's the persecutor, the person who's staring down at you, pointing fingers, yelling, screaming, attacking, being your persecutor. You have the second one being the victim of this problem. And then, of course, you have the third one being the rescuer. Here I come to save the day. And the challenge is that each one of these people is going to see the other one as a problem in this scenario, right? There's no one person who's the problem. We all point the fingers at each other, right? If you're the rescuer, you're looking at the victim going, dude, what's your problem, man? Come on. Stand back up. Take care of yourself. If you're the persecutor, you're probably looking down at everybody going, dude, seriously, why do you need to be rescued? Why are you whining and crying? Just do your job. And, the victim's sitting there just feeling like everybody's picking on them. So you just have this combination where everybody's looking at each other, pointing fingers at each other, and can't seem to get past it. And it's fascinating psychology to see how this plays a role in team dynamics. And the first question becomes, kind of like I asked last week, is when you have something going on in a team, presumably more than two people, how do you react? Are you the person who's lashing out and complaining and going to the lab and sitting there going, I can't believe this person, and maybe being a secondary persecutor? Or are you the person who's always trying to swoop in and fix the stuff? Or are you the person who's always sitting there going, how come they're always picking on me? Whatever the case is, the challenge is with any of these mentalities, when you put these people in the same room, these three people, and at least according to Dr. Stephen Karpman, there's going to develop this dynamic amongst people. You put 5 people in the room, they're all going to fit one of these 3. And so the challenge becomes, how do you work through it? And then David Emerald wrote in a book called The Power of TED how he transitioned out of this into a place of empowerment, as he calls the empowerment dynamic, trademarked, by the way, just using his content, sharing it, referencing it. But he talks about how what happens is if you can shift over to, you have one person who's a challenger, you have another person who's a coach, and you have another person who's a creator, now all of a sudden you have everybody being empowered through this. And there's a logical transition that would take place from this. If you're the persecutor, you're probably going to transition to the challenger. If you're the victim person, you probably have a lot of creative ideas. It's just you don't know how to get them out because you feel like a victim. And then the rescuer is likely going to transition into the coach role. So the question becomes, can we transition our group, whoever our group is, into this sort of a dynamic to where we're all growing and benefiting and we're all being empowered, as opposed to all just having drama? Because if we all continue to have drama in our practice, in our lives, in whatever group we are in, the challenge with having that drama is that we always feel stuck. That's why I love how Tony Robbins calls it the crazy 8 syndrome, and it's describing something else. I tend to use more of this stuck in this oval or circular pattern. And in that case, you're just circling the drain is all you're doing, and you're not getting anywhere better. We tend to just get stuck in our ways. But if we can find a way to all shift to a place of empowerment where we're all lifting each other up, we're all helping each other, it's a different story. Now, you might be a great person who's a coach, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a good challenger. The coach tends to be kind of like the cheerleader. Yay, come on, we can all do this. Buckle down, do it hard, do blah, 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 blah. That person probably is by nature not a good challenger. That's not to say that you can't shift in all 3 of these roles at times, but where's your natural persona going to be? As you look around the room at those sitting across the table from you, can you identify who's the coach, who's the challenger, who's the creator? And frankly, right now, can you identify who's the persecutor, who's the rescuer, and who's the victim? Going back to last week's show, if we can just see it for reality, for what it is, not worse, not better, just for reality, we can change it. You know, I like how David Emerald puts it. We can make shifts happen. I love the double entendre. Pig farmer coming out. But it's interesting to see how if we can be honest about it and just deal in reality and go, okay, let's all look at each other and just own who we are. We don't need to point fingers. We don't need to blame. We don't need to say you're this and you're this and you're that, because odds are nothing positive is going to come out of that. But if we can all just look in the mirror and go, okay, I'm likely this. I realize this person's likely that. How can I work together better with that person? If I understand that this person's a persecutor, how can I change how can I shift my thinking about them and see them as a challenger instead? See them as somebody who's coming in trying to challenge the status quo to make it better. Not make it worse, not pick on me, to make it better. Similarly, if I see the person who's always kind of the rescuer trying to swoop in and save everybody, you know, there's value in that. That's a person who just wants to make things better themselves. You'll start to see a theme here, by the way. But they're just trying to make it better. So all they're trying to do is help and understand and coach you to maximum performance. And then if you look at the victim person, if they can shift over to be that creator. Because, you know, what's interesting, if you've ever been a victim of anything, and I don't know how many of you ever have, but if you've ever been a victim of anything, you tend to sit there when you're in the muck and mire of whatever this ugly circumstance is. You have a lot of creativity in you. Because you're thinking, man, I could get back at this person by doing this and this. And I'll put termites in their house and salt and sugar in their gas tank. Right? We get really creative under duress. Not necessarily in a positive way. But the person who has that victim sort of mentality often has a whole lot of creativity because they're always trying to be creative about how to get out. Now the question is, back to the 6 human needs I referenced last week, do they really want to get out? Now we say we do, but subconsciously are we being fed all of our needs so much so that we actually don't want to get out? Or can we make this shift happen to where we can do something different? Because again, the Creator just wants to make things better. So if we can shift how we see each one of these roles and we can look at them and go, okay, what kind of a role is this person play? What is it they really want? Are they just trying to be a pain in my butt? Do they want to make it better? What is it that this person's trying to accomplish? How can I understand them? What human needs are they satisfying by behaving this way? Who are they in their heart? Because we tend to be two different people, one in our heart and one in our actions. I've known a lot of people who have great hearts who are complete idiots and doing stupid things. But it's not because they're idiots or stupid. It's because their behavior, their needs, their psychological needs are having them do dumb things. But if we understand who they are in their heart, and we know their heart is good, we know their heart is really to make things better, and we can understand it, we can shift how we see each other, and then as a result of that, we can shift how we show up and change our behavior. Guess what can happen? Incredible things. These are the keys to how do you get sustainable results out of your team, your organization, your family, I don't care what it is. When you start to shift how we see things, how we see each other, what happens beneath that is we change our own identities. Instead of me being the persecutor, always yelling at people for not doing their jobs, if instead I can shift my own identity to a challenger, someone who maybe challenges the status quo, but really wants to just lift people up, maybe my behavior will change on the long term. Maybe all of a sudden people will not only see me differently, but I can be different to where it stays different. The key to lasting change is how can you change the identity of people? And it's not as simple as just change a hair color, right? We can all change our identity. I can grow my hair out, dye it black again, look like Steven Seagal with a ponytail. Man, I'm so glad Sam doesn't have a picture of that right now to throw up. But you know, I can change my identity by doing that. But did I really change who I was in my heart? And the answer is no. We'll fall back in our old behaviors. Where we really see the lasting change is when we change our own identity internal. Not you telling me, but when I change it inside myself to where I see me different and I have a change of heart. I love how I watch some people who go through counseling and they're drug or alcohol or I don't care what it is. And what happens is, we'll use alcohol as an example because my mom was an alcoholic. What happens is all of a sudden I'll stop drinking because, I've been going to AA for years and I stopped drinking and I'm carrying my little token around how long I've been sober. But did I change in my heart who I was? Or, to use AA parlance, am I just a dry drunk? Because I know a lot of people who are acting different, but they haven't changed their heart. So they're a dry drunk, to use the AA parlance, as opposed to the person who truly heals and grows from whatever it is that they were doing and changes their identity from the inside. Because now when I change from the identity on the inside, I don't need to carry around a sobriety token. I don't have to go to meetings. I'm just a different person. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't do those things periodically for reminders to help me stay changed. But if I've changed in my heart, I'm a completely different person. The butterfly does not change back to a caterpillar. It changed its heart. It's somebody who no longer crawls along the ground. It's somebody who flies and flies for a living. And it has the ability to soar to all new heights because they changed their heart and then changed their behavior. This is where the old saying comes from that a cheetah doesn't lose its stripes, dots, whatever, zebra, whatever the metaphor is. I'm totally butchering right now. You can tell this stuff's shot live. But, the old saying of, that the people don't really change, they don't lose their stripes, can be true. Because if they don't change from the inside out, it won't happen. It'll be a very short gain, and then we'll fall back, and we've all seen this before. We've seen people with yo-yo diets. We've seen people with yo-yo behaviors. We've seen people who've gotten divorced 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 times, and the behavior becomes the same. It's great when they first start dating the new person. They're amazing. They're incredible. And then the heart comes out. The courtship period, the honeymoon period wears off, so to speak. There is no wearing off if you shifted who you are and who your identity is, and you can change how you see yourself and how you see your peers, and thus have a completely different organization. So, said a whole lot there. Said a whole lot in the last 2 weeks, quite frankly. My advice to you is if you're struggling with this yourself, is to pull your coach aside, have a conversation, and go, hey, I'm really having a hard time with this because I'm seeing myself in this identity that Darren described, I'm maybe the rosy person, but yet I'm the persecutor sort of scenario, and man, I don't want to be that anymore. How can I change? Now, I realize you're going to have to be pretty vulnerable and brave to do this, to come to your coach and have to admit this. But the beauty of coaching? Why would we judge you? We have no reason to. Our job is to make things better, not judge you. The minute we judge you, we lose the ability to influence you. And we all understand that we shouldn't ever judge you because that's the business we are in. It's no different than you don't judge your patients. You just fix them. You fix their teeth, we fix practices and teams. And the key to fixing practices and teams is to work with each one. So my advice to you as you sit here thinking about this week and last week, and hopefully you watch these two sequentially, is to really put thought into who are you, have a conversation with your coach, and then ask for help. And I'd be willing to bet we can show you some techniques, some methodology, some ways to get over it and past it that might be very, very liberating for you and for your team, your family, your coworkers, everyone around you. But most importantly, for you. Because that's who this should all be about in some way, shape, or form. How can you make you better? And then everything else will fall in line. Hope you enjoyed the show. Can't wait to see you next week, 8 o'clock Mountain, 10 o'clock East Coast. So then have an awesome day. We'll talk to you later.
What if you could have the practice of your dreams? What's holding you back? Imagine a life where you have everything you ever wanted.